Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Euro Trader. I'm your host, Market Stalker D, and I've been trading for 19 years. I've been focusing on commodities mainly, so precious metals and energies markets are my jam. But today we're going to stay in a combine because we do have the NFP week and the metals are still weird. So until that changes, I might be trading energies towards the end of the day. But I want to sniff out what it is they are trying to do with these metals. So if we go to the daily chart, actually let's start with the weekly chart. And let's begin on a super high time frame. Let me get rid of some of these profiles. Very spiky in general on the weekly chart, so that just speaks of volatility even in copper. Trade quietly. I'm up 2,999.42 on my combine in 2 days. I thought 3K is hit, so I locked myself out. Will I qualify for XF or not? So no, you really need to hit over 3K. The threshold that they have does account for slight overshoots. Like let's say you're over like $5 or $6, then you will pass, but not if it's just under it. Okay. Right, so I tried to fade after the Tokyo close, and obviously that didn't work on copper. And now we're sitting above the Tokyo range, which usually means bullish. Right now we dipped below the initial balance low for London, so I have the markers here for the initial balance. So we opened up above value by about 3%. Now with the extra volatility, I would like to think that this is not an repricing, but rather still maybe a possibility for mean reversion before they go higher. Are they going to go all the way down to value high for London, which is 587.35? So somewhere in this area. That is the question, right? So we'll see how things develop. When it comes to the COMEX value, it's very small comparatively. They did nothing. This was the whole session. But eventually overnight they went higher. You were watching me yesterday on group coaching. No, it was fast markets. It wasn't group coaching. I was on fast markets, and Andre was like, "What do you think they're trying to do?" And I didn't have a trade in the metals, but I was saying that gun to the head, I think they're trying to make an accumulation and then to go higher. So if we look at gold, it's exactly what happened. Eventually they went higher. And I think they're going to continue that. The overshoot that we saw Thursday and Friday last week across all the metals, I do think that that was a combination of margin issues, everybody and their dog being long, nobody to the opposite side to absorb the shorts. It was such a one-sided run up. It was absolutely crazy. So something had to give. And then couple that with the end of the month take profits, and you have a perfect storm for a massive, massive reversal. But now we're sitting just under 5,000 on gold. And I don't want to trade gold because it's still incredibly volatile and not suitable for combines or new XFAs unless you have a pretty decent balance of like 50K upwards in it. So I want to focus still on copper because copper is not that crazy. However, when it comes to the end of the day, I'll switch back to an XFA and then I will trade either RBOB or nat gas. Now, last night when I was in group coaching, I did try an RBOB trade, which would have worked, but it wicked me out and then went my way. So that was one of the annoying days. But I did manage to catch the natural gas that went higher. So I'm just going to flip this back to copper and go into RBOB. And then I will show you, because I left the marker from yesterday. So we were in a kind of quietish day. It was single-sided, but it was a normal day type, which means that it extended the initial balance by about 1 time the size of the initial balance. Not quite, but it's still a normal day type. So I was looking to fade this into the close. And I had a trade, where was it? So let's delete this profile so we can see it better. So I believe that I entered a trade somewhere here. So if you look at the way candles were at the time, I was looking for it to remain inside the developing value profile. And on paper it looked great, right? But then they did this, went past the ASR low, and then they did the run up. So last 2 minutes, they finally pushed it. But not before they did a liquidity sweep, before they took me out and then went upwards. So slightly annoying day yesterday, but you know, this is trading for you. Alright, so now RBOB is going to chill. And we're going to have a look at some nat gas levels. A big down day yesterday. A huge gap. Weekend gap. 700 ticks of a weekend gap. We're sitting right around the mega call wall. And what is the profile doing? Profile is dipping lower, so this could mean another run lower, even though we're already quite low. But I have this 3 evens as the big number. Today, the 3 evens is actually matching a DR low. And interestingly, average session range low for London is 310, so not too far from it, given the volatility of nat gas. So maybe some longs if we get here. But we'll see how we behave around the mega call wall. There could be a nice little trade there. They kept the, let me just see the times. They kept the yesterday's low through the overnight. So this was yesterday's low, this was Asia low, and Asia high. Asia has been pretty active on that gas. It's a little unusual. Normally it's very quiet, but now because it is active, I'm going to put markers on just to have that extra orientation. And then we'll see how they behave around the previous day low and the Asia low and see whether we can grab something. But I managed to grab this move to the upside, which wasn't trivial at all, and it all happened literally in the last 2 minutes. Sometimes they do these in the last sort of 3 years. They started doing these late reversals, and the entirety of the move was about 133 ticks. I caught it somewhere from around about this area, and then it ran all the way up really quickly. So that was pretty drama free, unlike RBOB. It kind of saved my day. Those end of day trades, story of my life. Yeah, so now we are trying to find a decision, see whether we're going to remain in this Asia range that we've established, or whether we start dipping below it towards the big 3 evens number. To the upside, I do have the ADR high in and around 350 level, where we also have the mega call wall. So that would be an area for shorts. Not really itching to get involved anywhere in the middle. Maybe Asia high if it proves reactive. But as it looks right now, I just don't want to get involved in what's basically a bit of a nowhere area in between the big call walls and right in the middle of the range as well. So 3 evens and 350 are 2 big orientation points today. So if we can be patient, those are the points where we need to look for trades and avoid everything else in between, unless something really obvious sets up. Like sometimes you will have like a failed auction to the upside that also has VWAP as a component, like it reclaims VWAP whilst it's failing the auction and then they push it. I think that could be something to consider as well. But for now, we're going to remove risk and do some practicing, right? Okay, so copper is fading the move. It's about to reach initial bounce low, so we'll see how a 15-minute chart behaves around the initial bounce lows. Because if it's a mean reversion, 2 things should happen. We should have a reversal somewhere around the IB low, and we should also have a reclaim of both VWAP and eventually Asia high. But you know, if we get to that point, let's say we use a 55 tick and then assume entry somewhere here, that would already be like 3R down to Asia, so we won't need too much more. So that would be an option, but where the entry is going to be exactly remains to be seen. Some reaction from this nat gas at the mega call wall. Normal day type. Actually, let's put the initial balance high and low there as well, because it is wider than normal. It's 50 ticks. Normally it's like 20. Okay, IB high and IB low as well. Okay, so we'll see whether Natty can give us maybe a setup here on the account of maybe a bit of a failed auction, and then saying that I know that I said I don't want to get involved here, but again, if we fail the auction, we will be reclaiming the VWAP, and then because this is an out of hours time for Natty, I would look for a neutral day above Asia and then towards this 8-year high and mega call wall, and then we might have some shorts there. But yeah, so we have a plan. If the failed auction doesn't happen, I will not be trying to catch a falling knife. Instead, I will be looking for maybe pullbacks and then further rejections to the downside to trade towards the 3 evens level. But at the moment, we don't really have anything of the sort. And I do not want to short directly into the call wall, because that's generally not a good idea. Alright, let's have a look at chat. The elevated life is here. Starbrook Market saying NQ daily range is so wide. I'm not an NQ trader. If I trade equities, I will trade DAX, ES, or YM. And NQ is still... I mean, during this time it's not that crazy, but I looked at it the other day. It's still very seizure-inducing during the regular trading hours when I usually get involved in trades. But let's have a look at ES rather than NQ. Alright, so ES is sitting above the 7,000 level, which was the big level, and they just weren't able to go below it towards the end of the day, and then finally Asia opened and pushed it right away from it. On the daily chart, we obviously had a big reversal, but it's still very range bound, right? So if I look at this from a bird's eye view, kind of with an upward skew, but it keeps doing these liquidity sweeps and then failing the moves, and then liquidity sweep failing. Very, very range bound, but slight upward movement, right? So we have higher lows happening. And what's it doing on the weekly? Oh my god, that looks horrible. Look at that. Isn't that an ugly chart? I mean, they've had a good run, right? What is the next level? Let me just do some basic levels overview from Mentor Q, because I don't really spend my API allowance on crunching equities. Alright, so we have another sort of cold wall up at 740. We also have a GEX2 that's reactive at 70.25. So 7,025 is the potential range. And I suppose in NQ that would be an equivalent of 26,100. So a little bit further to go. But yeah, I would be looking at some shorts in this area on equities. Not really interested in logging it this high up. And people will be like, yeah, but all-time highs. Yes, but range as well. So we have to take context. All-time highs, but it's having trouble. And it's ranging. So it is kind of pushing, but it's not doing it via one time framing higher, right? If we go into, the previous times, this is what a true all-time high should look like, right? You have this commitment, they're pushing momentum from the bottom side, keep pushing, none of this inside bar nonsense. This to me is like compression, supply and demand compression, and that never really ends well. It usually wicks all the way down before it continues. So range on the weekly, range on the daily, some big levels around 70.40 and 70.25. Very classic take the Asia high then reverse play today. So let's put some markers on ES as well. So they made the Asia high pretty much right before the end. And then they wicked it, no commitment, and then London comes in because London is a bigger session on this particular product, and it is traded somewhat, not as much as RTH, and it's not as crazy, but it's still traded. And then they wicked it and finally went into a reversal, and Asia low, very small range. So maybe if they retest 7,000, we have some longs. If they retest above the high, or somewhere 7,025, or maybe even 740 up here, those could be short points. But then 7,000 should hold for any further upside. So that's what we're working at, working with. Well, let's go back to nat gas here. And let's also have a look at how nat gas looks on a 4-hour time frame. Very, very accumulaty. So this is a drop base. Are we gonna have a rally? Question mark. If it fails this auction in 6 minutes, quite possibly. And is it an accident that all of this is happening around this mega call wall? Probably not. This mega call wall is probably strong enough to stop further progression. I mean, they've got over 1,000 open interest there. over 1,000, 1,137 when I took the snapshot just before I came on. So that's a lot of contracts. I wish that I could like unglue the domes and put them elsewhere, because I feel like they're chewing up space. Alright, so for now, copper is reversing before the IB low. That could be pretty bearish. Now 6 evens is still a gamma flip and also a cobalt, so I didn't put that on here for some strange reason. So if we go below 6 evens again, this could push it into a negative gamma environment, and then you're looking at more volatility and any of the options related levels to be more accelerators, because those are the points where the dealers are gonna have to sell more in order to maintain market neutral. I do want to see this touch IB low at the very least though. Does gold want 5,000 soon is the question. So yeah, I mean, that is where the next core resistance is located in gold. But because it's so volatile, you have to take in like, you know, 30 to 50 bucks. That's like 300 to 500 ticks either side of that zone. So it could be that they hedge against 5,000 before they get it, or it could be that they just run through it. So metals have been unstoppable, and after such a big drop, there's gonna be a lot of bottom pickers. And you know, where are we now on the daily chart? Well, we're already going above yesterday's high. So that's bullish. Is that gonna keep going? I don't know. But really, the next area there will be 5,000, which is not too far away. And then to the upside, I would say 5,300 would be an area of interest. So back here where the moderate cobalt was when I was in these levels. I didn't grab a new snapshot, but it hasn't really changed much. Like throughout all of this, we still have the same levels. It was 5,600, it was 5,300, 55. You know, they're just gonna keep changing names, but the big levels have been there for 2 weeks now, to the upside, obviously. I don't really see that changing much. Yeah, I just don't like it when the market risk is telling me that I need to use, you know, 300, 400 ticks. That's a little crazy on prop accounts. So if you have an account, because you know, even in 1 micro, that would be a risk of like 300 bucks at the very least. 1 micro. Like what? So that means you need a 150k account and you need to trade 1 micro. I mean, I don't want a 150k account so I can trade 1 micro. I want it so I can trade 2 and 3 minis, but you know. However, that drawdown of 4.5 grand just goes nowhere in the metals, nowhere. All right, so net gas has touched VWAP and so far having trouble with it. Just gonna have a little look at bookmap. Very mildly positive delta. So we have 50 positive delta. And they're trying to engage longs here. So we have consecutive bars that were green, but now there's a bit of absorption happening here. They really need to push this more. I mean, the range on Natty has expanded as well. Right, so more absorption. Just under VWAP. And what's copper doing? Alright, copper has had some buyer exhaustion actually around 60080. And then they kind of are trying to tag that IB low, but they're not successful yet, so it's unclear. Delta is very negative in copper, minus 1280. Interesting how Natty closed on the nose of IB low. Is it a failed auction or not? Nobody knows. But let's maybe try wait until they engage to one side, because right now no side is engaging. It's all just like sleepy, like me, sleepy. Do I think ES and NQ will hit all-time highs today? I don't know. I don't like to speculate in that way, because that's not our job. Our job is not to predict. Our job is to have a look at levels. I mean, it could. They would need to battle that 70-40 level first. We also have NFP this week, I think. Is that going to be released? I don't know what kind of chaos we have happening with the government, but let me just have a look at the calendar. No NFP that I can see. It's another government shutdown, isn't it? Yeah, so probably no NFP. Not much to push it either side. Right, signs of life in Natty to the upside. Who's gonna win? Who is going to win? 15-minute time frame finishes a doji on copper. And they're also absorbing. They're absorbing buyers. That's interesting. So what happened with Delta, if I just show you this quickly. What happened with Delta is that they tried to go higher, and now we have this pretty equal looking bubble, and they quickly ran it down. So that implies that whoever's trying to buy, there's a bigger seller on the other side. So let's see who wins, because whenever I see absorption, I don't like to get involved. And I like to see who's going to win. This nat gas, though, looks a bit better. It looks like they are trying to make a decision, but it's kind of trying to skew to the upside. So both the delta is going a little positive, and the bubbles are trying to turn green here. We just need some commitment. Give me a ring or something. Trader Naman, hey, did you use volume profile for charts with contract change adjusted or unadjusted, and why? Well, you only have that problem for one day, right? When we roll from the previous day into the next day contract. But I use the current contract, because usually the rollover begins even well before we roll. So you have some data there, and it's not the same. because we also have, you know, the possibility of contango versus backwardation. So contango is normal situation. If you don't know what that means, it means that the spot price should be under futures. So when that flips, it indicates a problem with supply or demand, depends. But generally it means that there might be some opportunity for an adjustment when the new contract starts, and there are whole strategies that take that idea into consideration. They spread trade the two contracts that have gone from normal contango into backwardation. So they will be selling spot and longing futures, because the relationship between the two can usually does usually come back reasonably quickly, unless the supply and demand issues continue. So, yeah. Wow, they're really glued to this IB low here. See, one of my triggers is when things are pretty quiet and I know what should happen, but then it just starts chopping around and not doing anything, which is a function of low volume, right? So usually at this time of day. This is why if I'm trading my own account, I trade DAX for this time of day, because DAX is pretty lively. It is an appropriate product for this time of the day, and it is what we should have had for these streams. Let's have a look at DAX. So DAX is wicking above an important level of 25,123 in the futures. That is an equivalent of a more of a roundish number in DAX index. Popped just under the initial balance and is trying to fail the auction. Because we don't have DAX on Topstep, I have to do this. So yeah, it's trying to fail the auction. We are well above the value. This is the value area here. So this could be one big range, you know. So one thing to try would be to maybe run along up to this level, and then to see whether they reject VWAP, and then maybe we have a mean reversion down to average session range low, which at the moment is sitting at 24,945. And the ADR low is actually inside the value from yesterday, so that could be a mean reversion down, one hypo. If they don't pick up speed to the downside, then failed auction long somewhere from the time when this stream ends, as sort of like a failure of the mean reversion somewhere. And then back up, maybe into a neutral day and into further highs. And the third option would be if we fall all the way down to the value high, maybe tag ADR low, and then we see some reversals. Right, they're still absorbing this bloody thing on nat gas. Still absorbing. Look at it. This looks like it wants to be weak. So if delta flips negative again and we have some commitment to the downside, maybe we can run a short with the move. The only thing that I'm really careful about is that we've already fallen so much. So much. And it's the time of the year as well. You know, I don't necessarily want to do continuation shorts in nat gas if I can help it. But you know, if that's the only thing that's setting up, then you have to decide if this is worth your time. So what happened here is that we hit Globex VWAP, had some trouble with it, and somebody keeps absorbing. Having said that, there's a slight increase in delta, so that means that the aggressive buyers, short-term buyers, are fighting. Otherwise delta would go negative, right? If delta starts to grow, even if the price doesn't grow, that's usually a precursor to a pop. And same thing with shorts, right? If shorts continue to step in, like let's say we keep fighting here and we go from 65 delta positive to about 0 and minus, but the price is still fighting, it tells you the delta is dropping, and that means that whoever is smashing orders in, they might be winning. But for now it's quiet, so we need more commitment. Yeah, partial shutdown. Yeah. Do I invest in stocks? Of course. I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades, man. Alright, some buyers have stepped in. Delta growing to 76. Do you know what? Let's try this. Let's see if the buyers win. Or if they smack it back down outside of IB. Let's go down to a lower time frame as well, because then we can see what the reduced volume is actually doing. Just looking to see whether I have an anchor, large enough bar or an anchor. I suppose this one, right? So let's anchor the VWAP to that. I mean, it's pretty much the same as Globex VWAP. That's interesting. And if we do get a move, I might add to this. Not that I like adding on a full mini. So what I'm gonna do is have another dome with micros and imagine as if this is 10 micros, and then we're going to be adding two micros at a time. Right, copper trying to tag initial bounce low here. Let's see what happens there as well. And now what's happening in nat gas? This. So the bars are winning, delta is growing. It was about 66, now it's 85, 90. So someone has decided to wake up and they're like, oh my god, let's long nat gas. Right, if we stick above the VWAP, both on the Globex and the anchored one, they're at the same point. So there's no real value in keeping both of them there. And let's get 3 charts up because we want the micro as well. Ooh, micro bit gappy. Interesting. Oh, one thing I noticed last night. I was looking at how the dome was, and micro gold dome was actually looking okay, but the other one, the main contract, low liquidity, which means that it's mainly retail trading all of this via micros. Just like an interesting tidbit. +427 says good morning from the US. Good morning, good morning. Can I please look at silver book map as well? Yeah, I can. The silver is heavily positive, 1,193. That's a lot for silver. Still gappy, nobody there in the main contract. But yeah, same sort of idea as copper, I'm guessing. Have a look. Copper is more bullish because it's already inside the initial balance. I mean, it's just a crazy product now. Right, 30 seconds until the end of this 5-minute bar. Let's see if we can add to the nat gas here. So the reason why I'm doing 10 to, so effectively 10 micros or 1 mini to 2 micros as an add-on is because that way you won't affect the average price too much. Otherwise, if you start with 1, then add another 1, that's not the same trade anymore, right? So I will start usually with like the least amount of contracts that I want to have if I'm planning to scale in would be 4 micros. That's not a strong close. Kind of don't want to add on that. That's a bit sucky. So I only want to add once I see the momentum to the upside. Otherwise, we stay in the core position and then either commit to the risk or figure out whether you want to keep it just 1. Because if the movement is slower and everything's sluggish, I don't want to be adding. Oh, some signs of short stepping in on copper. That's interesting. And again, I'm not rushing here. I'm using 15-minute time frame to guide the decisions on copper rather than getting chopped up. They're still hugging this VWAP, as Coach Ray would say. Hug your VWAP. Have you hugged your VWAP today? Where's my first TP? I don't really use multiple take profits. I generally just go for 2R as a default. The only time I will go for 1R is if we have a range bound day, and then I just have no space to run the 2R, and then I will take a 1R trade. But generally it's at the very least 2R. If I want to run this for a swing, which I don't think is good on nat gas today, unless we get to one of these bigger areas, I will run it for 3R, 5R, 6R. So I'm somebody who trades with a lower accuracy but a higher risk rewards. So I am very good at catching swings from big orientation points that are either statistical extremes or there's some kind of tops and bottoms that run out of steam. So I'm actually very good at figuring that out, and then just running a big sort of 300, 400, 500 tick move outside of the volatility. But you have to be very selective with the trades. And then when I say lower accuracy, for me, lower accuracy is actually 46 to 50%. It is not 20 and 30. Because 20 and 30%, I can't trade like that. Like, I just don't think that's an intraday thing. If you're a swing trader, you can absolutely absorb the 30% because you don't have the time component that wrecks everything. But for intraday, you know, for me, lower accuracy is 40%. Anything below that, you feel like you suck as a trader, right? So it's not, because, you know, as a swing trader, you'll be trading once every week, or maybe once every couple of weeks, a month. But you know, so you can kind of go, yeah, okay, that one didn't work, fine. But then the very next one comes the next month, right? So you're not assaulted daily by the inability to find a trade. So this is where we have to take in some kind of a golden middle where you are running with a positive expectancy, but you're not also completely getting destroyed 70% of the time, because that's a miserable way to live. At least it is for me. So I always aim for 43 up to about 65% would be where I sit. But you know, I've had weeks where I'm like 100% profitable. Is that realistic? No. Is that what I aim for? No. I'm perfectly happy with 2R and 43%. And I've managed to maintain that for many, many years. So for extended periods of time, those sort of systems tend to remain stable. All right, so copper is dropping. Let me see if I can maybe find a copper trade here as well. Let me just see how they're ending. Yeah, so they ended with got a lot of inside bars, Christ. I don't know. It's just that it doesn't look right. Like the whole price action is really messy. This one I'm gonna keep. I'm not gonna be adding because it's too slow. So we're just gonna keep that wherever it is, and we won't need 2 additional NG charts. That was a nice little sweep to the downside on copper. Let me just plan out the stop here to make sure I'm not getting involved in anything that's round number-ish. Yeah, okay. So 55 ticks. Sell. Why? Because I explained earlier we had where is delete? There it is. So we had the touch of the initial bounce low, prompt rejection from that, and I don't want to use a large stop. Why? Because if it goes back to initial bounce low, I don't want it. So again, it's a combine, so I'm doing more of the kind of on the fly reading rather than going, ooh, is this a star setup? When I'm in an XFA, I don't really go in that quickly, especially not this time of day. But you know, this is just like more practicing what you're seeing and trying to position yourself in light of available information all the while I'm talking, and trying to pay attention to chat and everything. But yeah, the plan was touches initial bounce low, reverses, and then carries on. Now what could happen here, because the time of the day is that we touched the initial bounce low, we reversed it, and then we go nowhere. So that's always a danger of a lower volume environment. But I'm not seeing the... So one thing that I've noticed on copper, if you don't have the wick above the Asia high, that then brings the liquidity sweep down, that usually means we are just gonna keep dropping without ever tagging Asia at all. And this one was an unusual one because we made Asia high and then it just melted upwards back into a bullish trend. But because of the time of the day, I do think they need to go back to Asia high just to retest that level, and then there's going to be a different picture when we get to COMEX. So if it goes back to initial balance, I don't want it, don't care for it. It's not on the cards to go long this high up. So my going long areas are Asia high, and then further down where we had, I think 580 was one, 595, 590, those are like anchors. And then really if we go below 590, there's really nothing until 575. So yeah, some kind of a reversion should happen here. And if it doesn't, then we are bouncing off VWAP, and that's going to remain. But yeah, it's all very slow right now, guys. Hold time. My hold time is around 100 minutes. So again, not a scalper. I don't, I think when we had COVID, my average hold time was 45 minutes. So it was, you know, less. But why? Because everything was getting reached in a lightning fast manner. And whilst this is fast price action, I still find that on my other products, RBOB, nat gas, and yes, even copper, I have pretty long hold times, so it kind of averages. Alright, so copper is trying to go lower. It's that the bubbles are really small though. Christ, look at this. Because you want to see commitment to the downside with these guys, not with these guys. Like, what's going on? They're just like tiny positions. I'm trading one micro. Great. Nothing wrong with one micro, but you know, that is who I'm seeing being involved in this. It's like tiny positions. This is not institutions, guys. Same thing in nat gas. Like, everybody is just asleep, I think. The institutions are asleep, or they're trading something else. They're probably trading DAC. So yeah, my hold times will depend on something I call the day trading time zones. So if I am looking at this copper trade and we're still just floating around the same area and it's not reaching my target, the only way I will exit that will be at midday. So right after, about 20 minutes after the LME opens. If there's no commitment to the downside, then 20 minutes after, right around silver fixed time, which doesn't have too much to do with copper, but it's the start of the overlap. And then you see this like increase in volatility that can kill a position that was based from the London stop sizes, London ideas and everything. So the cutoff point is midday for early London trades. And then you let the overlap craziness settle, or maybe find a new trade with the expanded ranges and volatility and everything that the pre-market COMEX brings. And then maybe sometimes if we make a good enough movement away from an entry, maybe just maybe, you can hold it. But I only like holding Asia trades that have gone like a million away from it. Isn't like a million ticks away from it. Like, let's say you caught a Shanghai long and you're coming into COMEX or midday overlap time. You're coming with like 800, 900 ticks of profit. You have some time, right? You have time to decide whether you want to keep this or not. So overlap midday my time, I'm GMT, as the early exit. So it's either time target or price target. It's not all about the price. Sometimes it's time. A lot of times it's time. Make sure you wait for setup, it'll make you tilt. You've obviously not been here for long. I am quite possibly one of the most patient traders that you will ever see on YouTube. I will only get involved if the setup is there. In combines, I tend to allow myself to run 1 or 2 trades because it's practicing the situational awareness and putting the actual position rather than just going, well, I would have gone short at IB low. That's great, but your awareness of how the price action is doing massively increases. Okay, so yeah, you must be new here, because again, I have done so many streams here where I've not entered a trade at all because the level isn't there. Now we have some levels. Like, look, we have the reversal from a mega core wall here. We also have a reversal from this mega core wall. So it is there. Is it a perfect setup? No, but you're not going to get perfect setups at this time of day anyway. So. How did you look at correlations for NG with crude oil or any other NG? No, because nat gas is kind of its own thing. For RBOB, yes. Crude oil, RBOB, and heating oil are very correlated. So you have to watch at least crude oil if you're going to trade RBOB. Nat gas, it's its own animal, and it just does its own thing. It doesn't really follow... I've looked for correlations and there's just none. Therefore, I look at natural gas as a standalone product, one of the very few ones. It doesn't really follow what the dollar is doing. It doesn't follow anything that crude oil is doing because it's a different commodity, right? It's kind of like comparing soybeans with what would be like soybeans with DAX. It's like they're totally unrelated, right? There's nothing correlated between them. And I feel like nat gas, even though on paper you're like, oh, it's an energy product, so it should have some sort of a correlation. It doesn't. It just does whatever it wants to do. And it's a good thing, right? Because if you want to trade something outside of the madness of the other products, like metals, for example, you have something that you know is not going to get pulled by whatever craziness and mayhem you have in the precious metals going on, right? A little bit of a battle happening in copper here. I don't like what I'm seeing because delta has been massively shaved off. I'm gonna close this. So here's what I'm seeing here. This is not a good thing for shorts. So whenever you are entering a position, not only the bubbles are trying to go green, you have this sharp increase in delta that shaves off a good portion of it. It's not generally a good sign, and it's happening right above the gamma flip and a core wall of 6 evens, which I have as a line in the sand. So if they start engaging ahead of it, that is a bad thing for a short, and maybe we can look at more longs if we retag 6 evens, but you don't want to see a sharp increase in delta when you're short. It's the worst thing ever. So you take the base hit, a few ticks here and there, and you wait for more information. So let's focus on nat gas here. Right, so we seem to be trying to reaccumulate. Delta is not falling, so they're just keeping it very steady in nat gas at 111. But again, no commitment because it's slow. Gold making a bull flag. Gold makes bull flags all the time. So, yeah. The riddle says NG's so boring to trade, is barely moving. Okay, let's go back a day then. This time of the day is boring. This was yesterday. Let's measure this. From the open. $550 ticks down. Boring. Is that boring? Over 550 ticks movement. You're looking at this stream now, which is London, and it is an out of hours session for this. So this is a quiet period for nat gas. But give it another half an hour or so, it will start to move, right? And it can run. I've seen it run 700, 1,000 ticks. One of the other days it fell or rose crazily. Was it Friday? Yeah, it might have been Friday actually. So let's see. That statement of it barely moves. This was Friday. 606 ticks up. Over the weekend, we had a gap of 700 ticks. Very boring. Be careful with statements like that are not statistically backed, please. And then again, smashy smashy to the downside. Another very boring day on Natty. So boring. Falls 890 ticks. Boo. Only 890? That's shit. Natural gas moves, man. But if you catch it in, like, you know, September, October, when there's no demand for it, yeah, it's going to be dull. So you don't trade it when, you know, when it's not cold or hot, because both the summertime and the wintertime, they both bring natural gas demand in perspective. And then you're looking at some crazy movements. Don't stand in front of them. But it's a very seasonal product. So if you started watching nat gas, like let's say in March or April, when it's like nice weather but nobody's using air conditioning, yeah, it's gonna be dull. So don't trade nat gas. This is the thing about being a commodities trader. You need to know the times when these markets have increased demand. Most of you are used to trading like NQ that mostly moves. But then as soon as you run into a week where we have dry up of liquidity, you're all moaning. You're all like, it's not boring. Yeah, you can't have things that move all the time. It's not how markets work. All right, answers, not you, D. D, what is the best time for ANG trade? Oh, for an NG trade, right. Same thing that it's in the method, Joe. Post NY cut, followed by DRF for NYMEX. Doesn't change. It doesn't change, man. Like, you keep asking me this question. It doesn't change. It's post NY cut, and it's day range fill for all of my products that I look at. The reason why I put those in my program is because those are the highest probability times for the setups and playbooks that I use. Failed auctions, sustained auctions, neutral day fades, auction fades, either post NY cut or day range fill. You have those stats underneath the lectures that are studies that we've done on what time of the day failed auctions and auction fades are most likely, and they go for most products, all products really. I mean, if you were trading metals in Asia, obviously Shanghai is the open, so half an hour before Shanghai you usually start to get that movement, and we can look at that in copper. But you don't trade Asia, do you? You shouldn't trade Asia anyways. If you're working full time, you need to sleep, man. Can't be spending your evenings trading Asia. So yeah, so here it is. So 1 a.m. is when half an hour before Shanghai starts. They start moving, and then 2 a.m. they reverse it. But it was a quieter time all the way to the end of Tokyo, and then they ran it up into the last hour of Shanghai, because Tokyo ends an hour before, but I consider Asia high to only be Tokyo, because the liquidity sweeps typically come from the times when Tokyo stops moving and creates an Asia high, and then the Shanghai take profit move tries to take the high and fails. So that's the reason why I use Tokyo high over Shanghai high. Shanghai high. Shanghai high. Say that 10 times fast. Did we talk about oil? It looks like it's ready to run some stops. Oil is only a correlation product for me. It's very slow, bar like once in a blue moon. And this is coming from a trader who used crude oil as the breadwinner for many years. So let's see, how much are we moving today? So it's already moved $1. How much more juice does it have? If you take that on average, crude oil moves $1 a day. Whenever it makes a quick movement and exhausts the dollar move, I'm always like, okay. It might run some stops, but if you look at how it's moved for most of the days, this was yesterday's session. So you have one day where it's like, yeah, we're smashing down, and then the next day it's like snooze fast, meh. Or you have, again, seduces people, goes, we're going up, yes, we have a great day, and then you get to the next day and it does absolutely nothing. Get stuck in $1 range. Now let's go back. This one, this is COMEX range. Full COMEX range, 101 ticks. That's the statistical expectation of crude oil these days. If we ever find a month where we are constantly smashing above 200-300 ticks every single day, right? 250, 350, 300, 250, 300. Maybe, just maybe, I'll put crude oil back on the map. But right now, it's the same thing. Moves one day, seduces everyone that is back. All of us, like including Hoop, we jump on it. And then the next day, there's nothing. I've been through that cycle through most of 2024. Where, you know, I made a lot of cash on crude oil. A lot. But in 2024, it stopped moving and became a dead fish. So there were times when I had to check my internet to see whether I'm on because it was so slow. Like literally, NYMEX, initial balance would be over, and then I would be looking at it, and it's literally just static. So yeah, I would be like, wait, is the connection? Or, like, okay, what? And yeah, the connection would be okay. It's just the product ain't moving. So watching paint dry would be an understatement. And it continued. And I was just in disbelief at how much personality change crude oil went through. And since then, I have had it on the back burner. So I have RBOB, that is its more volatile twin. But it is not... It's very correlated to crude oil. So whatever crude oil does... RBOB will do it by 4 times more liquidity. And heating oil is even crazier because it's always gappy. Like if you think that the gold ladder is gappy, look at RBOB and heating oil. They always look like this. This is the RBOB, yeah? And then this is heating oil. They always look like that, okay? Very rarely do you have more contract. Now, crude oil is still a thicker market, but it just doesn't move. Just doesn't move. Like it moves once in a blue moon. So what I do, I use the levels from crude oil, and then I will, I mean, the RBOB also has options, but if I'm looking at, let's say, a bounce from VWAP, let's say I want to go long, I will be going to RBOB and then waiting until crude oil touches its VWAP, which usually means that RBOB is going to overshoot its own VWAP. And then for every $1 move that this one makes, this one is more volatile. So right now it's running almost sort of 3 to 1, right? So for every $100, this one does approximately 300. But that goes crazier. It goes to, 400. During regular trading hours. So even if you have a $1 move here, you can still make pretty good bank in RBOB instead, because it's super correlated. And they're not like twins, because it is a derivative of crude oil, but it is still, it offers 500 to 600 ticks on average per day of average daily movement. And that's my sweet spot. I like that. And heating oil is the same. It's just that it's a little more teleporty. So, you know, you enter a position and because of the gaps, it was just going to teleport to the next price or teleport like away from your stop. So it's risky. And I only really trade heating oil towards the end of the day when like you have enough contracts in there. RBOB, I will trade in the overlap. Like for example, if we run massively up, why do I have a piece of dog hair on my, like I literally have a dog hair knot wrapped around my button. Did I pull some dog's hair? I don't know. Yeah, this is what happens when you have 8 dogs. So RBOB, if it runs all the way up, I love fading that in the overlap. So once midday comes and we're sitting in some kind of an extended auction upside, I would be looking to fade that into NYMEX open, but not running it through the NYMEX IB. So just like cutting it off at my 2 p.m. when the energy's open, and they're just being done with it. But those sorts of trades, they're pretty quick because they're mean reversions and they reach my 2R very quickly. So I don't need to look to fade the entire move. That's not the name of the game here. The name of the game is to catch a portion of the move, usually about 30% of it. That is what I aim for. And to make that into a 2R multiples with the stop scaled to the liquidity of the product that we're talking about. But yeah, if RBOB runs up, I mean, I'm already in nat gas here, so I'm not looking for another energy product trade. But yeah, so we can look at fading RBOB if crude oil goes crazy. But crude oil, I'm not doing an outright position in crude oil. The only way that I trade crude oil these days is through options. I do not trade them with outright futures contracts because you just don't have enough time. But when we reach the edges of the weekly ranges, I will absolutely plop in either a long call or a short call if we're all the way up near 75, 72, I think it was the one that I was looking at in this contract. 70.2. Close enough, T. Close enough. So yeah, I have an alert for when we reach these areas. Right now it's middle of the middle. I had some long calls here. And that one happened pretty quickly. So I didn't even have to hold it much. Didn't do one here because I kind of felt the price action was not really committing. And it took a long time. It took 3-4 weeks to actually do anything. I do prefer to be short, but obviously you need to know that, you know, short calls are very risky and they can hurt you if you don't know what you're doing with them, because they're effectively uncovered calls and it can go. You really have to make sure that you're getting involved at the right time, that you're going to get the move pretty much within a day that you enter. So that means looking at like implied volatility and timing the options chain and a whole bunch of things, and then you might have something. Yeah. Do I have a look at irregular time frames such as the 90 minutes? Yes, not 90 minutes, but I will look at 6. I will look at 12. I will look at 20 minutes. But yeah, when it comes to higher time frames, actually maybe. Let me think. So I do look at a 3-hour time frame, but not like an hour and a half. I don't know whether that would be. Yeah, 3 hours over 4 hours, because I feel that 3 hours is just about enough to give me a sentiment, and it's a shame we don't have irregular time frames on Topstep, but it can really, like a 3-hour chart can really tell you the story. And 4 hours, I feel you're already like halfway through the day, and it's like okay, but 3 hours somehow tells a different story. And then with the minutes, 20 minutes is something I look at a lot, primarily because of the metals, because they open at 20 minutes past. for COMEX, and they also open at 40 minutes past for LME. So I like to look at the 20-minute chart for that purpose, and then I will start flipping through weird time frames when I'm tracking how the price action is doing. So I'm watching tape, watching the price, and then I go 15 minutes, then I go down 12 minutes for the next 2 minutes, then I go down to 10 minutes, and the other way around as well. So maybe if I'm starting on a 2-minute time frame because I entered I entered a trade based on a 2-minute development, then I will go 3. You can't do 4 here, but I will do 4. Then we get to 5, wait until 5 finishes, and then on my other platform I will go 6, and 10 and 12 and so on, making sure that you have that continuation into the larger time frame. And then once I get to a 30-minute time frame, I sometimes repeat that cycle again. I don't do this all day, I just do it upon the exit and the entry. So if I have a trade on, I don't like to just let it go. I'm like, well, set and forget. I'm not that kind of a trader. So I do enter and then I watch it. And then I want certain commitment from price action. And if I'm not getting it, I will then exit if the price action gives me an opportunity to. Sometimes it just wakes you out. That's why we have stops. But yeah, weird time frames are good. 90 minutes to me is a no, but I can see the value of it because I know some people use 45 minutes, right? So double of that. You can definitely see some more things being gleaned from your regular time frames. But it's all price action at the end of the day. Whatever you are comfortable with. Oil 63.80 target. Let's see if that rings true. If I can find it, that'll be good. Okay, oil is in a neutral day type. 63.80 is a bit outside of the average daily range, which is exhausted at 63.15 today. So I would say unless you have a reason why you might want to find yourself in an outlier day on crude oil, that's working based on slight hopium, effectively looking for an overshoot of 66 points, which is a big ask on crude oil, frankly. Yeah, so the 63.80 is above ADR, which is a 63.15. So yeah, try not to do like swinging for the fences without statistical reasoning behind it. How do you get your dome like that? This is called level 2 data. And you have to pay for it. It's located in add-ons, and it is $34 a month, plus any VAT that you might be eligible for, depending on your location. If you're in the US, I don't think you have any extra VAT. But yeah, so go to add-ons and look for level 2 market depth or something like that, CME market depth level 2 data. And then it's a recurring charge every first of the month, to just make sure you don't sign up at like the 20th and you pay $34 and then the first comes along in a few days and they will charge you again, because that's how CME does things. It goes on a monthly cycle. So we're still at the beginning of the month, so if you want level 2, this will be the day to sign up. CME should give us a cut. Like level 2. But CME don't give cuts. They're just, they're an exchange, right? So they provide certain services, and that's it. AK price action trading. I'm eligible for a payout. I can withdraw around 4,000. I want to grow the account to 20K. Should I take it or continue towards more my goal? So if it's an 8,000 balance, which I think it is, I would, if you want to grow that, I would take maybe a couple of K. So 20 to 30% whilst you're growing the account is the calculation, right? So that will leave you enough working capital, which always people always forget. They're like, oh yeah, I'm eligible for payout. It's like, but what kind of working capital are you leaving in there? And is that enough to suffer any sort of a drawdown that you might go through? How many days have you found yourself in a drawdown before? And can you absorb that? Risk first. But if you want to grow the account, I wouldn't take out more than 20 to 30% at most. So personally, I don't like to withdraw anything before there's 12 grand in it, and then I will do 20%. So that's why it's like 20%, 12K. But you know, 8K is okay. But if you want to grow the account, you're not just looking for this to be your, you know, your extra income that you depend on, then there's no pressure, you know. So just take it slow. There was a sweep downwards on that gas, but they haven't really taken it anywhere. They didn't even take it down to the coal wall yet, so just chopping in range. It looks like it's going to be one of those days where we're going to have to wait for a better time of day for nat gas to actually stop moving its little bum. What's VAT? If you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. It's value-added tax that Europe and UK have. So whatever price you have displayed, you basically have to pay extra 20%. We have a 20% VAT. Some other countries have less, others have more. At one point our VAT was, I think, 17.5%. Now it's 20%. But yeah, so for me, let's say a no activation fee 150K costs $222, even though it's $189. But because of the extra 20%, I pay more. However, because I run everything as a business, I do get that back as an expense. So you get VAT back if you're VAT registered. And for that, you need to be over 80 grand in pounds a year over here in income. If you're less than that, you just pay the VAT, but you can't claim it back, I don't think. But it's been a while since I was in a low tax bracket. Oh, Vaughn, you look like you're gonna be sick. What's going on? Yeah, one of my doggos the mommy is being sick. Why are you being sick? What have you been eating? You alright? Better? No, she's still yakking. That's lovely. Riveting TV over here. Dog's throwing up. Hope she's alright. I mean, sometimes it happens. Dogs eat a whole bunch of stuff they're not supposed to. Right, we have so the US have sales tax. Yeah, I suppose it's similar. But with sales tax, do you get that back as a business? Maybe that's the same thing. I don't know anything about yeah, so if you're not VAT registered, you can claim it back only at certain large purchases. Yeah, because I've been VAT registered since I was, I don't know, probably 2006, 7. I was still a musician. So yeah, I don't know how things have changed since, only one godson says running everything through business. Do you have your props under my LTD? Yeah. So you just, I mean, look, Topstep is a bit weird because for some reason they don't allow you to do the W8BENE form. But it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to to pay tax, right? So what I do, I typically go and run that through, like my props are under my name with Topstep. Now with some other firms, I'm totally registered under W8BENE. I just don't know why they are so resistant to letting like they let LLCs do the same thing. Why not LTDs do the same thing? But I was given some reason about, oh yeah, we need to check what sort of a corporation it is. I said, no, that's not your job. That's the IRS's job. Your job is to provide a legal. I actually had a huge argument with one of the support guys like a couple of years ago over this, and then they were like, oh yeah. So what I do is I run all of the props through a business account that is one of my companies designated for prop, right? And that way you still get all the benefits of an LTD, and you get expenses back and all of that stuff, rather than all going under personal income tax, which is really expensive in the UK, as I'm sure you must know. It's like 40%, 50%. It's very difficult to get it down if you're not running things through an LTD. So basically every time I would take a 10 grand payout, I would have to give 5 grand of it back to the tax man. It's like through personal income. So it would be really stupid to run it that way, in my opinion. Whoever is serious and whoever's starting to get a lot of payouts, you need to think about incorporating, you need to think about expenses, you need to think about tax. I've seen a lot of young people who have made a ton of cash through this online prop business now. They never thought about any income tax or anything. And some of them were desperate to find out. Then now they owe an arm and a leg to the tax man. So it's like, don't be in that situation. If you're seriously starting to make cash, as soon as you go over, like at least in the UK, we have this allowable income, which could be a gift, it could be a side business, it could be trading, it could be anything. But as soon as it goes over the allowance, the yearly allowance, which I think right now is about 13k, I think, in pounds. As soon as it goes over that, you get into the waters where you're going to have to start paying tax on your trading. And that's when you need to think about making things a bit more efficient going forward. Otherwise, it's not responsible. Again, you're not taking care of risk, and you're not taking care of your personal finances the proper way. Yeah, so only one God sign is in the UK. So yeah, we're business owners. We've been doing this for... Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur and a business owner. I briefly had like a traditional job, but only briefly because I wanted to learn IT recruitment. And then I stayed with an agency for like a year and a half. And then, I wouldn't call prop trading jobs normal, because you would get into the office and if you made money, you could leave. Like it wasn't like they were like gun to the head. You have to sit there for 8 hours. So, there were days when, I would be trading DAX and I would get into the office at like 8 a.m. And by 10 a.m. I already made the cash for the day. So I would just be like, all right, well, see you tomorrow. So as long as you would pop into the office. And then after COVID, I still had some friends who worked for other props. Prop firms were like, well, if you just turn up like once a week in the office, it's fine. Everybody went remote, and it just changed the whole industry completely. Yeah, it was not a normal job. It's not like the pit where you have to trade there for 8 hours. It was the office. It was an office, and you do your job. And sometimes the risk manager will actually kick you out of the office because they know, especially when you work with them that closely. And the firms are not massive. You usually have, let's say, 15 to 20 traders there. It's not like huge firms. They know how you trade, right? So that you would be making money, and then the time window for when you do best would be over and you've made money. You're up on the day. They would literally just kick you out of the office. They're like, go gym, go home, go do something. Off you go. So it's not your normal sort of 9 to 5 where you're getting paid for your hours. You get paid for being right, and you get paid for, you know, being right at the right time. And that's a skill. So you get that right, and the risk managers don't care. They're like, yeah, see you tomorrow. Hey, is that answer your trades? Dude, you're super smart. You're talking about me? Or someone in chat? I can never tell. Alright, this natural gas is driving me insane because this is a trigger, right? So this is one of my mental triggers where I have a setup, it's bouncing from a mega call wall, but because I have to be on the stream, I have to watch it. Like usually if I have a slower trade, I would go do something else. I would cook, I would go rest, I would play video games, walk the dogs, like do anything just not to watch the paint dry. But because I'm on the stream, I'm watching it. It's like sideways, barcode. Like, come on. It's probably not going to move for another half an hour to an hour. This hypothesis is still there. You know, we've glued ourselves to the initial balance low. You know, struggling around VWAP, but not enough to kind of go, oh yeah, we're just going down. One interesting thing is the delta keeps rising, right? So all of this is happening, this battle is happening, but the delta keeps rising. It's 207. We were at 66 when it all started. It's not dropping with all of this like consolidation and stuff. And there is no reason to exit right now. As long as delta stays positive, at some point, like I said, as a precursor to them running it in the same direction. Once whoever's trying to sell this disappears, and it all just kind of starts popping, and that's what happens into the overlap. So yeah, but we'll see. Anyways, this is all I have for you today. Oh, which combine do you suggest? I have 100k. Depends on your experience level, Anthony. So have you done payouts already, like elsewhere? And have you, were you able to like keep the funded accounts for longer than like, let's say a week or 2 weeks? Have you held the funded account for 3 months? If the answer to all of that is a no, you don't have to like, you know, pour your soul out or anything. But if the answer to that is no, I would start with 50k, okay? It's the easiest on the, what I call the drawdown to target ratio, so DTR. 2,000 versus drawdown versus 3,000 target, reasonably achievable. As soon as you get into larger DTRs, that becomes more difficult, and it becomes a matter of skill over time, and time is the only real judge of anyone's skills. So as a novice, you will probably, or as somebody who makes mistakes, maybe you're not a novice, maybe you're a very sophisticated investor, but this is new to you. The props are new. In that case, like I said, just start on 50k, see how you get on, trade micros, try to stay as long as you can in the account. Don't try to pass it in 2 days. That is not what the end goal is. The end goal is longevity, maintenance, and consistency over time. So if you can understand that that is the real objective, you will stop trying to pull port and pass it in 2 days only to lose the XFAs equally quickly. So that's kind of what all of us coaches are trying to tell people. But yeah, so just take it slow, get proof of concept, small combine, small target, and yet equal amount to make, you know, equal opportunity to make some cash if you do things correctly. You can always size up. That is not the problem. And really, without the daily loss limit, once you are past the, you know, the first stages, there used to be a hard daily loss limit in the combines. They removed that. Now you still have it if you ever get to the live stage, which I'm not really in favor of, because I think they're changing the rules of the game whenever you get into live. So suddenly, you know, you traded your entire balance in the XFAs with no, you know, management of the daily loss limit. Suddenly you get into a live and you have a daily loss limit. So I'm like, why are you changing it? So I'm not really sure what, you know, what, I get that they want to protect risk and stuff, but why not just say you have to have a daily loss limit and then allow us to have our maintenance, you know, daily loss limit as we would like, not whatever you had half a year ago in a combine. But yeah, once it comes down to the XFAs and stuff, all of these accounts are the same. They have, you know, maybe some different scaling rules in the beginning, but because there's no daily loss limit, once you're past that minimum drawdown requirement, so the trading drawdown is out, all of these accounts are pretty much the same, right? So don't bang your head about, oh, which account should I go for? Like, it's fine. I want to go for the larger one, usually purely because of the volatility that we have in the metals right now. Because I've tried trading metals on a 50K. I've blown up a fair amount of 50Ks over the last 2 months, and it's too tight. You know, I have to use a stop of like 800, 1,000. That just doesn't give me enough room if I am going to trade, like, for example, silver. It doesn't give me enough room in a 50K account, but it gives me, you know, a decent amount of room in 150, which is 4.5K drawdown. But the target is bigger as well. It's 9 grand versus 3 grand. 3 grand I can do, like somebody said, in 12 hours, not a problem. You know, you smash one trade, get another one, you're done. So you do end of day range fill, Asia opens, you find another one, you're done. 9 grand target, 6 grand for 100K combine. That gets into territory where you're like, right, well, now you need to, you know, have some real skill and maintain this over 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks without too much of a drawdown. So it becomes more difficult, right? T21 Trade Life 85. I'm newly max funded. Any general advice for consistent large payouts? Just go for the go for the per account management. So don't look at making 5 grand in each account. You know, if you make 800 to 1,000 in every XFA, that mounts out quickly, mounts up even quickly. Can't even talk. Need more coffee. So just manage the account appropriately per account, and that is all aiding in multiplying, which is a huge cheat code in this business. So you don't really have anything anywhere else. I really cannot believe. I've been doing trading for almost 20 years now, and I come from the old prop. I cannot believe that there's a multiplier. Like, there's a multiplier. It's like a video game. It's like you get this like special thing, and then it unlocks the multiplier. And yeah, of course it can go wrong, but it can also go very right. Yeah, newly max funded. Just go account by account. Don't think about the money. Think about your process. Control the downside. And just take it day by day. Don't look at P&L, because that's the worst way to do things. Okay, so signs of life now. Obviously, we've gone through 11. Whoa. So yeah, let's just wind it up today. Because I'm way over time and we need to finish it up. So I will see you tomorrow. I don't think I'm on the day show today, but I am on tomorrow. I don't know when. Check the schedule. I never know, because sometimes they like change it in day to day. I will be on tomorrow. I think I'm on for group coaching. Don't quote me on that. But I will see you, obviously, for the Euro trade in the morning as usual, and then another time during the day. But until then, let's see what Tuesday brings, and let's see if we can get this nat gas into a little bit of a movement to the upside towards this ADR high. But I'm only looking for 340, so I won't be fading anything until we get to very, very late in the day. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful questions and for sharing your time with me. This was the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Stalker D. I will see you again tomorrow. Enjoy.